I want to welcome everyone to Indian Healthcare's prevention podcast. Today we're going to be covering a really interesting topic that I am very passionate about. But before I dive into that, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Aly Speers. I'm currently the Domestic Violence Prevention Program Grant Coordinator. And I also want to add, just because this is such a touchy subject that we're going to be talking about today, that I'm a mother, a sister, an auntie, a peer supporter to others out there, and also just an advocate to everyone. Because even though we're focusing on teen dating violence, it really does impact everyone. If teen dating violence is occurring, it's going to impact the individual, the parents, the family, the community. So it's really something that's kind of a domino effect, and that's why I'm so passionate and it's so important. So Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month is a national event every February, and it is to bring awareness about what teen dating violence looks like. But the main thing is to really bring together advocacy, empowerment, information to not only teens, but educators, community members, leaders, so they can help prevent domestic violence from starting just from the beginning. So I'm going to dive in and give a few statistics about domestic violence in relation to teen dating violence. So 1 in 3 adolescents in the U.S. are a victim of physical, sexual, or emotional dating violence. And that's a pretty staggering number and pretty alarming. So that's why I think we need to have these talks and make this a normalized conversation so we can help prevent that statistic from being so high. But what's more alarming is for Native Americans. So for Native American teens, that rate is even higher. One study by the CDC showed that the rate of teen dating violence among Native American school students was 13.3%. So that is nearly 4% higher than the national average that's occurring. Once again, I mean, that is just really, really alarming. So I am so fortunate to be a part of a grant that really tries to help prevent and educate the Native population. It also, the CDC reported that 1 in 3 Indian women report being raped during their lifetime. So these are things that we really need, even though it's hard to discuss and talk about, we really do need to. So, of course, everyone has an idea of what abuse looks like, but I want to spend a little bit of time just going over the specific types of abuse. So, of course, everyone, when you think of domestic violence, you think of physical. So that is one component. That could be hitting, pulling hair, punching, but there's also verbal. So that's when you're going to hear the put downs, the name calling, and just always talking down to. Then sexual abuse, that's controlling what one partner's boundaries might be and violating that. There's also digital abuse, controlling the individual's ability to have social media accounts. So it could be abuse if one partner in the relationship is controlling the other partner's access to the internet, or their changing their passwords, putting who they can be friends with on there. It's that aspect of control. Stalking, following someone after someone has expressed unwanted contact. That would be following them home from, if they go to school, if they go to work, knowing where they live, kind of keeping a watch on them. And then financial abuse, that occurs when a partner is controlling the money, where it's being spent, if they have access to a bank card, credit card, if they can purchase items for themselves or food. It can be very harmful, but once again, the big theme of domestic violence is that aspect of control. It's when one partner is putting so much control on the other that they feel like almost a prisoner, is what I hear with a lot of domestic violence survivors I work with. So I think it's very important to really focus on that. So I watched a video that I thought was so inspiring. It was Barack Obama, and he was talking about teen dating violence awareness, and it was really powerful because he was really focusing not on so much the negative side that we just discussed, but how do we stop it? And that's the overall goal of not only this podcast, but I think all the work that we do. It's that prevention piece. So how do we get involved? The main thing is there are so many great credited resources online. Love is Respect is a great one. If you go on their website, you can find links about how to engage youth or engage your child or a community member if you see warning signs. So I wanted to go over a few of the warning signs of dating violence, just in case you can keep an eye out if you see it, and then we'll talk more about how you can engage and prevent. So with teens, I see a lot of, once again, control, but it's like cell phone use, knowing the password. I had one moment where I am fortunate enough to be involved in American Indian life skills that we teach in the middle schools, and I was teaching this lesson pre-COVID, and it was so alarming. I was talking to the kids, and this was 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. They're all mixed in the class, and I asked them, how many of you are you dating? Of course, they start giggling and looking at each other, and it was kind of a funny moment. But then a couple raised their hand, and then I asked, well, how many of your boyfriends or girlfriends know your password to your cell phone or your Snapchat account or something like that? And an alarming rate raised their hands. And it made me realize this was a much bigger problem than I actually recognized. And that's why we really need to push this topic, and we really need to talk to youth about it. As I mentioned, just as a mother, I mean, these are things I'm going to educate my kids about. These are things that we need to talk to them about so they can stop any unhealthy cycle starting. They can recognize, okay, so when they start to date, okay, he's asking for my passwords on my cell phone. He's telling me I can't, or she's telling me I can't hang out or be friends with this person. He or she's telling me what I can wear or not wear, where I can go, where I can't go. When you start to notice that extreme anger and jealousy, it's when you really need to take a step back and if you're in that, realize, okay, this isn't so much of a healthy relationship. But if you, as a community leader, an advocate, a parent, you're noticing that someone's going through this, that's when you know, okay, maybe they need help and they don't recognize it yet. And how can you step in and really give them that support that they need? So going again, I want to shift gears from more of the negative to the positive. So we recognize these negative cycles or negative signs of abuse. So how do we, as educators, community leaders, how do we help? How do we solve this problem? So a big thing is creating positive connections with youth. Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month was actually it was youth driven, created by the youth, which I think is amazing. As an adult, it's easy for me to sit here and assume what high school is like for kids right now, but I don't know. I can't sit here and say that I do, once again, because it's so different with virtual or in person to cell phones, technology. It's so different from when I was in high school. So we really need to form these positive connections with youth. We need to engage them. We need to talk to them. Even if it's an uncomfortable topic, you really need to talk to them and feel comfortable about it. So creating these healthy communication opportunities. So teaching them what a healthy relationship looks like. You don't have to focus so much on what's unhealthy. So teaching them that, like, respect. If you set a boundary and you say set boundaries with people, making sure they don't cross those boundaries. So having mutual respect in a relationship, having trust that you can talk to this person that you might be dating. Honesty. If you feel like you have to lie, you have to walk on eggshells. I hear that quite a bit. I mean, those are red flags. Having self-confidence, I really try to teach kids to be empowered to be themselves. So typically when you're in an unhealthy relationship, you feel like you're being molded or you're being more kind of created by what that other person wants you to be. So if you have good communication, you can be yourself. You feel like you have understanding in the relationship. Those are really good signs. So I think having that conversation at dinner time, sitting down, we need to have sit down dinners with our kids and ask them what's going on with school. Ask them about relationships. Ask them if they are dating. I mean, kind of how is it going? What's going on? And the more you open those doors, the more that they'll be honest and they'll feel comfortable talking to you. So I think another point is talking to kids about how there's so much on social media and then on different networks like that portray more of the negative relationships. So most of the kids are familiar with Hulu, Netflix, Amazon Prime. I'm sure I'm missing a few. But a lot of these shows have what could highlight very negative relationships that teens watch. So one that I always go to, and I'm sorry if I offend any Twilight fans out there, but Twilight was really big. The youth really loved the book series and the movies, but if you really analyze the relationship between the two main characters, it wasn't a healthy balance. It wasn't a healthy relationship. There were a lot of unhealthy things and cycles that occurred that were very glamorized. I think having that communication with kids about, or kids, youth, your children, about maybe why that would be seen as not so healthy or positive, having those critical discussions with them, like, what do you think about it? And sharing your just your thoughts on why, okay, this might be more negative than positive, once again opens the door for kids to learn, okay, maybe that's not so healthy, because there's a lot of shows coming out that really highlight relationships that these kids really cling to. So it's really important to have those conversations with them. Getting involved in classrooms, talking with community leaders, if there's any organizations you're affiliated with, any agencies such as Indian Healthcare. There's so many other ones in the Tulsa area that do a lot of prevention. Getting involved, volunteering, asking for information about, hey, how can I engage my kids? How can I get them help if maybe they're in a bad relationship? Asking for those resources, but there's also so many online. If you look, there's the CDC has that's Center for Disease Control. Dating Matters. If you Google that, it has credible, awesome information just about how prevention, how to get help, and also just how to talk to your kids about just dating in general. that's a really great one. There's the National Domestic Violence Hotline you can look up. National Sexual Violence Resource Center. There's a National Sexual Violence, our sexual assault hotline number as well. You can call. They can provide you with resources that are connected close to you, and also just give you information if you're interested. But kind of circling back to what teen dating violence is. So the theme for 2021 nationwide is Know Your Worth. So I was really looking more into that, like what does that mean? And once again, this came from it was more of the college age. They came up with this theme for this year, Know Your Worth. So when I was reading about it, they really came up with, it was know what your values and what you bring to the table. So know that you and everyone deserves a healthy and loving relationship, and know that you have value that you're bringing to the relationship, and feel empowered that you don't have to worry about being controlled or being in this unhealthy cycle where you're dealing with the negative outcomes later on. So noticing these things very quickly in a relationship. But I think it's so empowering that youth are so involved in, like I said, college age youth. Well, they're not so much youth. Adolescents are really engaged in trying to do more of that peer mentorship for younger middle school to elementary school youth, to educate them on what's healthy and what's not. But as always, I can include my information at the end, and also provide any resources that are available, any handouts or resources we have available here at Indian Healthcare Resource Center of Tulsa. And I am just so thrilled and very proud to be part of that domestic violence prevention program that is here at Indian Healthcare. I'm proud to be a advocate for youth, adolescents, adults, and elders, and LGBTQ ally, and just a supporter to all. And once again, just going over the theme of everyone deserves to be in a loving and healthy relationship. And hopefully you learned some information from this podcast today, and you're able to use it in your family, community, and all those out there. So thank you for listening today, and I hope to do some podcasts in the future. Bye.